and Treasurer of the Alliance, Dick Mason, here to share his expertise. Dick is a registered lobbyist with many years' experience, and we are honored to have him presenting really important information about funding to us today. Thank you, Dick.
We should say a registered non-paid lobbyist.
Non-paid, okay.
we always clarify that because it helps sometimes. Some legislation says people can't sit on boards and other things if they're a paid lobbyist versus unpaid. That's why. All right. So, we have been informed that HB2 junior money is going to be available in this session. The last time it was available, each senator had $750,000 each, and each representative had a little over $400,000. So it's the same pot of money for the Senate and the House, but since there are more representatives, they get less money. I expect, given the surplus, that there is going to be at least that amount available in this session. Again, you don't know. The rules the last time were that it had to be a minimum of $50,000. That was allocated. And half of the money could be allocated to recurring. That means once it goes into a budget, it is in the next budget. Of course, anything can be line item vetoed, or the department itself could change it, but usually they go with the status quo. So if the ideal is to get it into recurring. So we sent out the model letter. Did everyone get that, or can everybody access it?
I think Madeline's going to post that in chat, and she's also posted the link to find your legislator in chat.
Right. Okay. Yeah, if in case you don't know your senator or rep, and many counties have more than one, particularly senator. So you could ask more than one. On the model letter, it gives you the language, because it has to go through a government agency. And so, it's to go to the Department of Health for allocation to your council, to your health council, county or tribal health council, and then put in, what your health council does and why it deserves that money. It could be a big shot. I mean, particularly some of our more underfunded health councils. It's 5 times as much as you get from the DOH right now. It's around a little under 10,000, right?
Well, if for health councils that are not participating in the CDC project, it's that much. Yeah. For those that participate, it's closer to 60 total.
Yeah.
So I also want to be sure people have an opportunity to ask questions. So feel free to use the chat or to ask Dick any questions that you have about, can you ask your senator and your rep? Do you have to choose? Should you follow up the letter? Those kinds of things might be helpful for you to know as well.
Yeah, I should, you should put your full contact information there. Go ahead.
So we have a question from Susan Wilger. Is the Alliance working with the Office of the Governor so she does not veto money to individual health councils?
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that Gay Kern and Linda Siegel told us in the advocacy workshop is she doesn't line item veto stuff in HB Junior.
Yes, she does.
In HB2 Junior, she did.
Yeah, I've had things line item vetoed in the last junior bill. So she
okay, all right.
She has.
Okay, all right, then we'll meet. Unfortunately, my contact in the has left the governor's office, Jane Wishner. I'll have to check out to see who's in there now in that position. So that's a good tip. I mean, the legislators said that they, and Linda Siegel said they didn't, but We will follow up. Other questions?
Diana Good from Valencia. We really want severe clarity and guidance around the fact that since we're a nonprofit, because it's a legislation, right? HB2 is legislation. And if we're asking for money, are we in fact lobbying? Because our president is very, very squirrely about this.
Okay. You aren't pushing for HB2 Junior, the bill to pass. You are
Okay.
asking for funding. I wouldn't interpret that as, and just so you know, I mean, I know nonprofits are hairy about this, but you know, the ruling from the IRS is substantial activity, which has been interpreted as 15 to 18% of activity of a nonprofit. I know some nonprofits are testy about that, but that's the IRS interpretation of substantial activity on part of a 501c3. You know, again, I know some people want zero, but you aren't pushing for a piece of legislation. You're asking for funding. I don't rule at it, think that is saying pass HB2 Junior.
Are there any CPAs on the call or lawyers that could, and I'm not doubting your wisdom, but we haven't spent money on a lawyer that way yet from our health council side to just be really clear about that. Because I am even just mentioning the bill would probably have our president not sign it.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on the call. Good. Okay, great. So I'm asking this question on our behalf because
Right.
I want us to write the letter, but we have to get it signed.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can go online and do substantial activity and stuff. This is, I mean, you know, I'm with the League of Women Voters, and we've, you know, we have an ed fund. It's a 501c3, and that's you know the standard that we've been using, and I think a lot of organizations use. It's a substantial activity ruling on part of a 501c3. That has been viewed over and over again. So again, if you want to ask someone, that's fine. Is there anyone else who's used that? Is it Susan?
We also have some other questions, Dick. I want to move on because your answer is the answer that I've heard as well. And
Right.
so if that doesn't feel comfortable, I would encourage anyone to seek out professional
Right.
comment as well. But that's my understanding as well. And I've heard that. I see Susan's hand, but I want to address some of the questions in chat and then move to Susan. From Matt, do the funding decisions need to be made during the session, or can decisions by senators or representatives be made after the session?
No, it's during the session. HB2 Junior it'll have some big, larger number. I mean, you know, bill number, because it's done after all the requests go in. But yeah, it passes like any piece of legislation. It does have to be signed by the governor. Okay, so it's passed like any other legislation.
Thank you. And then from Leah Sanchez, she says, I'm a little confused about the one-time versus recurring funding. The letter you provided only asked for recurring funds. Are we only able to request recurring if we also request one-time funding? That's a little confusing. Leah, you may want to clarify. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm just confused. I thought the opportunity was to ask for one-time funding and then part of it could be recurring. I don't know. I guess I was confused by the way it was shared earlier. Could you restate it?
Okay. All right. So no, half of them, and what I'm saying is, say they get $400,000, okay?
So wait, hold on. So the representative has $400,000?
Yeah, so let's see. I mean, again, that figure will come out later. That's around the figure they had the last time. So the rules the last time were they could allocate half of that money to recurring or half to one-time projects, one-time funding. So
I understand. So the denominator is the representative's pot of money, not our request.
right, exactly. Yeah, okay, all right.
This is from Susan, and Susan, if you have something to add to this, please do. She says nonprofits are allowed to provide information if asked by an elected official, and do a limited amount of lobbying. Asking for funding in this case should fall within the IRS rules. Did you want to comment any further on that, Susan?
Yeah, and I'm trying to find a link of a really good resource that I refer to on the rules in terms of what nonprofits are allowed. And so if I find that, I'll put that link into the chat.
Thank you. And then from Leah, a follow-up question. Are there reporting requirements attached to one-time versus recurring funding?
Again, this money goes to DOH. So anything, DOH, I guess, could put rules, deliverables on it. So that could be, so I guess they could put deliverables on. Okay.
So this money, we're requesting this money and it goes through DOH before it would get to our organization.
Yeah, it has to go through a government agency.
And so do we need to work with DOH as we prepare the letter and get them on board?
No, they're happy to get the money. This has already happened. Liz Stefanix, 4 years ago, put $50,000, but she didn't specify a health council. She just said to be used for health councils. So part of the money that is distributed now, the $9,000 plus, includes the $50,000 that Senator Stefanix specified to DOH. No, it just means they have more money to work with. So we don't have to check with DOH.
You have a question from Monica Vigil. Can you give examples of what this money can be used for?
I think you can, and the bottom of the letter, you have to explain what your health council does. You can or cannot specify, if we get this extra funding, this is what we can do with it. I don't think necessarily they're going to be that concerned about it, but you could, under what you do, you could say, okay, this is what we do, this is what we contribute to the, community, and this is what we could do if we get the additional funding. I'm going to leave that up to you, okay?
I think that's all the questions in the chat. Did anyone else have any other comments, questions? Denny Phil is asking if our health council is part of a government agency, local county government, and fiscal agent, would funds still need to go through DOH?
Does your regular allocation from DOH go through that same fiscal agent?
All the regular.
Yes, it does. It's government. Mm-hmm.
But it comes from DOH to their fiscal agent.
Yeah.
It doesn't originate at the county.
I think they're probably going to feel better about giving it to a state agency. I would, I don't know that other route. So I assume it could go as long as it's a government entity, doesn't violate the anti-donation clause. But I think if your other designation comes through DOH, why not just do DOH?
And Susan's hand is up.
And it's related to the previous questions. So if your health council has a fiscal agent, if the junior money will have to go through DOH, but DOH will have to contact your fiscal agent. So make sure that your fiscal agent is aware that you're asking for the funding, because DOH will have to contract with the fiscal agent.
And thank you, Susan. Amy Sandoval is asking, if funds come through NMDOH, Will current DPOs have to be amended for those health councils receiving traditional NMDOH recurring funds for FY22?
That will be a decision by DOH.
And DOH is allowed, I believe, up to 60,000 for, before they have to go into a different procurement. And since your current contracts are like 9,000, you know, less than 10,000, it's feasible they may have that option of amending.
Okay, other questions?
So all we do is submit this letter and that's it? That's all that we're having to do?
Yes, but you know, I would leave, you know, I mean, one of the questions was around follow-up. You know, I'd put all my contact information on there and ask for a response. I should have put that in the letter. You know, we should, you know, you should ask for a response so you know where you stand.
And then, you know, just if you have a relationship or it's helpful in my experience, just to have a conversation, let the legislator know it's coming. So the first time they see it may not be in an email. It might be that they kind of know it's happening. And Geraldine's hand is up. Go ahead, Geraldine.
Hi, yes, I guess this is about tribal health councils. If this is their first time requesting the junior funding, is it recommended that tribal governors meet with legislators and senators as well with the health council?
Yeah, as you know, it's always good if the governors speak for it. And you know, the thing is, you know, I don't know, I know Acoma has a lobbyist. I don't know about some of the other pueblos or tribes, nations or tribes, but I know Acoma has a very effective lobbyist. So yeah, I mean, it wouldn't even, for them to even copy that law, you know, for Acoma to copy that lobbyist would not hurt too. But as you know, governors speaking for funding is always a plus.
Thank you.
And then Susan just made a comment that she suggested doing a follow-up call with your representative.
Right.
They're less responsive to email, and especially if anything is like a sensitive matter. Gail Armstrong was telling me at one point she was getting thousands of emails on, I think it was the abortion issue. And so if something like that happens, and you never know, then your email could be buried. So I think definitely some kind of verbal communication is a good idea.
But you know, I'm a great believer, and I should have said in your email, if you email, be sensitive to the subject line. You know, say request for funding for HB2 funding, junior funding from da Health Council. Okay, you know, that way they know it's not a blast from from some organization. So you know, I always, you know, the subject line sometimes can be important because as Sharon said, they get these blasts, and you know, it's good for them to know that this isn't one, you know, coming from, this isn't a blast from where they're going to get a lot of emails. And you know, I should tell you, sometimes they're torn. They don't always have enough requests for the HB2 junior funding. So.
I have another question from Amy Sandoval. To follow up, what about health councils who are not currently receiving NMDOH funding? Will a separate scope of work have to be written for those health councils to receive these funds, or will they include that in their letter to their senator or representative? NMDOH disseminates current funding on completion of deliverables within a written scope of work.
Whoa. Well, what the only health councils now that don't receive funding are the new tribal, is that correct? Health councils?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not really, because there are a couple who have declined funding, and, you know, and are not under contract because they've opted out of DOH funding.
Well, then, yes, if that's the case, then, you know, obviously there would have to be something worked out with DOH, okay? Yeah, something would have to be worked out with DOH in that case. And I guess I'd have to yield to the DOH folks, about the tribal health councils that aren't funded right now. Geraldine, I was thinking we could, we could ask someone like Senator Shendo, Representative Len.
Oh, you went on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, okay. That, we could ask someone like Senator Shendo or Representative Lente to create a fund for unfunded tribal councils, health councils. One of the Native American, Senator Shento is Navajo, so Pinto is Navajo, so I'm not necessarily, think that, but we could go that route.
And also, I also did follow up with the acting tribal liaison, because I know we, in prior years, that was an option.
Right. Yeah, you could create that fund, go to that fund, although I don't know, the tribal money is weird because there's a tribal liaison in HSD, in Department of Health, and I'm sure in other departments. So, I know they have a pot of money. I don't know where exactly how that, Amy from DOH, do you know?
Can you say that again?
At one time, we were told that the tribal health councils actually get some additional money from the tribal liaison in DOH. But I don't even know where that pot of money is.
Yeah, so when Aiko Allen was our tribal liaison, she had received additional funding. I think it was 1 year, and they were able to allocate it to tribal communities specifically to work on community health improvement. I think that was a one-time funding stream. I don't believe it was ever recurring. And Aiko retired, and I know Janet Johnson is now the interim tribal liaison, but right now they're not receiving additional funds for that, to my knowledge.
Well, since we have an issue with, we're adding tribal, trying to add, or we have added, and
You're on mute again.
Muted. So why is it saying can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's saying I'm muted, so.
Yes, don't mute yourself. We like hearing your voice, Dick.
So, yeah, so, that could be another, although, I'm not sure a line item exists now. But I'm not sure whether you can create a money to go to the tribal liaison to fund health councils. I don't know the mechanics of how that would work. But it would be, that's one of the other things Sharon and I were discussing. Should we seek to create a pot of money that can go to new tribal health councils as we add them? So
we have a question about if the recording will be shared, and it will. Let me see. We have someone, Shelley's appreciating your expertise, Dick. Thank you. Let me see if there's any more questions here. Madeline's reposted the resources. I don't see any more questions in chat.
Okay,
Sharon, you note that Susan has posted 2 resources on nonprofit lobbying. They look really good.
Oh, thank you. So we can also share those out with the recording and the resources that you see posted in chat today.
okay, if there's nothing else. You know, people, you can post my email. If people want to email me directly, Sharon, they can, okay?
Okay, we'll have
And
Madeline share
again,
that out.
you know, this is a very, just so people know, you know, it's a strange process because it won't be announced right away, you know, in the session. We just have to make the assumption because there is so much excess money that this will happen. You know, both Linda Siegel and the legislators who were on our advocacy workshop last Saturday said that they expected it. But, you know, comes down from on high, probably from the Senate Finance and the House Appropriations of Finance, that this money is going to be available. So,
I want to give Shelley a chance to just mention the topic for NMPHA Fridays this week and next week. Our Health Council Talks will be a part of that. We'll be talking about health security for all New Mexicans. So Shelley, if you want to talk about what's happening today, just to let everyone know.
Thank you. And again, thank you for organizing this. And Dick, it's really Dick, Susan, and everyone's expertise. NMPHA Friday starts up again, including the Health Council Talks on the 3rd Friday, so there won't be a conflict. Today is with 3 senators, Senator Cedillo Lopez, Senator Ortiz-Pino, and Senator Hickey, talking about this, I guess you'd call it this moonshot for public health education, the $500 million proposal that was brought up during the special session that they're going to bring up again. That was a $500 million proposal for a school of public health at UNM Health Sciences Center that also potentially involves lots of behavioral health. It's a big basket that you probably want to hear about. And also the Green Amendment, it's from 12 to 12:50. And like Sharon said, next week is Mary Feldblum with the Health Security Act. On January 28th, paid family medical leave. You can sign up to get, email notices. We'll send them out. Or click on nmpha.org and the link will be there. You can
so there is a memorial filed already to study paid.
Absolutely. It's a House Memorial 3, and I hope all of you it's a memorial to study it. It's great, Dick. Thank you. And Tracy McDaniel will be on January 28th. And it's really, a chance to be informed so that you are an informed citizen, first and foremost, right? And health council leader. Thank you all.
Someone asked
questions.
Go ahead.
A couple more chat questions, Dick. Susan has a question for you about capital outlay.
So I was in a meeting with one of the senators yesterday, and it sounded like I know the deadline for counties to get their capital outlay was yesterday, but it sounded like the legislators may also in their junior funds have some capital outlay funds. Have you heard anything about that?
Well, yes, that's what the one-time part is.
Okay.
So the one time could be for capital outlay. Put this, for incentive. That's how Sandoval. Well, it wasn't through junior; it was regular capital outlay. Got money for the health commons. So the one time would probably be like capital outlay.
Right, and I want to mention that. So if a health council is having any issues with facilities, and your county is on board or your fiscal agent is on board to say, hey, we need to either, I don't know if they can remodel, but if they need to actually have a facility where your health council can meet on a regular basis, the money can also be used for that. Yeah,
you could ask. I mean, quite honestly, and I'll tell you this, because you're doing a health security bill. Health security wanted a study done. They didn't get the appropriation the last time. I forget when it was, 2 years ago, I think, for a study. So they cobbled together through various legislators $575,000 out of junior money to do the study. So sometimes you can work. say you have a couple of senators and a couple of, representatives, in your county, for the one-time money in particular, you could really cobble together, working with them, some money to do something substantial.
You have a question from Brenda Bishop. How soon do we need to get the letters in?
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. Again, I know some don't, I've known this in the past that, they don't always get enough requests. So I would get it in as soon as possible and ask for a response. And as people have mentioned, follow up on the letter.
From Christian Price, are there any restrictions or guidelines about how this funding can be spent?
I would assume DOH could put restrictions if they chose to. When I know Senator Stefanik's, the money that came from Senator Stefanik's, they didn't put, they put that money into the general pot because Senator Stefanik's did not specify that it was to go to a specific health council. So it was just added, so it was added to the regular deliverables.
And then Geraldine just added that in addition to the health security for all New Mexicans, nicotine cessation resources will also be shared at next week's Health Council's talks.
Okay.
And then Amy and Susan were just clarifying that the funding is for state fiscal year 23 beginning on July 1st.
Yes.
Through June 30th.
Yes. Whatever the standard budget, yeah. I always get confused. Thanks for clarifying.
And I think that's all the chat questions.
Okay. Well, thank you all.
All right, thanks everybody. If you think of anything later, you're welcome to email Dick. Madeline will be sending out the recording, the resources, and include Dick's email address. So you can always contact him directly if you have specific questions about your health councils.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, everybody.